What's going on, guys? Your boy Maze here, back with another video, and in today's video, guys, me doing the top 5 worst character releases of 2023 so far. Now, I was definitely inspired by Truth on the Dokkan side of things when he was covering, his top 10, I think, worst releases for 2023. Grand Cross has had some pretty bad releases this year as well, and so we are going to be ordering them from the least worst being number 5 to number 1 being the worst character release of 2023. Alright, guys, before we actually hop into the video, make sure to subscribe to your boy Amazing. If you guys enjoy videos like this where I do, top 5s or, things like this where we just kind of have like a discussion video on characters, definitely like and subscribe if you guys haven't already, man. I do appreciate all the support, guys. Without the way, you guys can enjoy the rest of the video, and we're going to be hopping into the first character release or worst character release of 2023, number 5 being Iron Blood Mono. Iron Blood Mono, the blue one. She came out at the beginning of the year, and the reason why this mono is one of the worst character releases, at least for this year, it's not necessarily because she's a bad character, but it's because of the way her kit's designed. So the first thing she has is a weak point AoE skill, right? This obviously would be really good when the enemy's debuffed. Now guess what? Mono has no other skill in her kit that applies debuffs. Literally no other skill, not even her Holy Relic. No skill in her kit applies debuffs, so she doesn't even work for her intended use. But her other use, which is okay, right, is that she does give 7 Catastrophe ally basic stats, and this is in PvP, right? So this is obviously really good in, like, Guild Wars or Heroes Arena on a defensive team. So when they're actually running like a defense Heroes Arena team, Mono's great on that, and even on like Guild Wars, she's great for that. But other than that, you're not using her in PvP because 7 Catastrophes are just not good in there, right? And so she's not really doing anything in there. And then her Holy Relic here is increases 7 Catastrophe allies damage dealt with all target attacks for each 7 Catastrophe ally on the battlefield. When we look at the Roxy of Madness that released this year as well, she's oriented around single target damage. You guys see the problems with this mono, right? So it's not necessarily that mono is a super bad character. It's just her kit is all over the place. What is she trying to do? She's trying to, buff AoE skills. She has an AoE skill but doesn't apply debuffs. She buffs basic stats of allies of 7 Catastrophes but only in PvP, right? Like it's a ton of situations here that just doesn't really work out for Mono, and because of that, she is the number 5 worst character of 2023 in my opinion. So that is the blue Mono. Now the next character, I do not actually own this character, but it is the blue Camilla. So I'm gonna pull up GC database so you guys can see her kit, and we'll have that open, and we'll talk about the reason why Camilla is number 4. Alright, so the reason why Camilla is number 4 on the list is because she actually does have a use in the game that's, fairly substantial, and that's, I think it's Ionic Guild Boss, if I'm not mistaken, or it's one of the guild bosses, but I know she is a high scorer on one of them, right? And obviously Camilla, her only use is Guild Boss. So if we look at her kit here, so at the start of the Knighthood battle, increases the hero's ultimate move gauge by 2, and whenever the hero deals damage with a skill, increases the hero's ultimate move gauge by 1, right? So it's okay. And then her, when she transforms, right, increases the hero's attack related stats by 30% in Knighthood boss battle, and whenever an unknown ally deals damage with a skill, the increases HP of unknown allies by 12% for 3 turns, which is really good, right? So because of that, Camilla actually is a good guild boss unit, but the problem is with her is that she's a guild boss unit. Who is doing guild boss and scoring for the really high scores that, like, of the general player base that actually needs to do that? Nobody. And also there are replacements for this character in the content you're using her in, which is why I think Camilla is a pretty bad release this year, but at least she's not, like, just completely useless. She does have a use, and that is scoring high in certain guild bosses. Not all of them, by the way. Certain guild bosses she can score high. So because of that, she's okay. But other than that, I mean, she isn't really doing anything too much. She has gauge fill single target on her first skill, and then she has attack related stats increase on her second skill, and then she is obviously transforming, and then when she transforms, she has amplify and then gauge depletion with a attack percent ultimate. So yeah, I mean, other than that, Mono is, or Camilla, I mean, is a good guild boss character, but other than guild boss, guys, she's not really doing too much, man. And yeah, I mean, her niche is good though, for what she is, but like, do you need her? No. And do you really, would you rather run her for like something just to get a little bit higher score, right? That's what it really comes down to. So yeah, that is number 4 right there with blue Camilla. Let's move on to number 3. Alright guys, so number 3 on the list is going to be Red Goddess Elizabeth. Now, the reason why Red Goddess Elizabeth is the 3rd worst character release of 2023 in my opinion is because she is a PvE character that was absolutely not needed considering the PvE character we already had in the game. Okay, so let's read Goddess Elizabeth's unique. So increases allies' basic stats by 5% up to 2 times, then increases their attack-related stats by 30% for 2 turns each time the hero uses a skill in PvE, right? So in PvE, meaning not demonic beast battle, no PvP, you know, you can use it in deathmatch and you can use it in regular PvE content like farming, whatever, right? So there is that. That's all she has, right? And then her holy relic obviously is the goddess blessed barrier value, but that's only for the blue Goddess Elizabeth. So she doesn't have a holy relic that coincides with her kit either, which definitely does suck. And then another thing on top of that is that, you know, we have a character already in the game that does what she does but better, and it's a collab character, right? So you are like, if you pulled Goddess Elizabeth and you don't have you know, Kizuna, then you just have a worse version of Kizuna, right? Because Kizuna is giving, you know, skill rank ups for herself, cleansing the allies, right? And then she is also giving that 30% attack related stats that you know, that the Goddess Elizabeth was giving. And so, you know, she also has a buff skill which is really good for the entire team, and then she ranks up with this card, right? And then she has a damage ultimate. So overall, like, this Kizuna is just way better than Red Goddess Elizabeth, right? So that's like the main reason why she's kind of bad. She just wasn't needed in the game, right? She just didn't have a reason to be released, in my opinion, right? So Goddess Elizabeth is the number 3 worst character of 2023. Let's move on to the number 2 slot. Alright guys, so for the number 2 worst character release in 2023, we have Aries from the Mushoku Tensei collab. Now the thing is with Aries, right, is that she is super restrictive to one character, and that character is not relevant anymore. So let's cover her kit and explain why she's in such a bad position, right? So her passive here is for every applicable ally on the battlefield in PvE, increases those allies' attack related stats by 10% and damage dealt with single targeted attack skills by 15%, and the applicable ally is strength attribute humans. So guess who that is? Only Rudius and like Levi maybe, right? And Reinhardt, I guess. Who else is there, right? That's actually good. Like nobody else. And then when we look at her holy relic here, increases applicable allies damage dealt by 10% for each magic orb on Rudius, literally relying on another character for her to even provide anything. And bearing in mind that Rudius is more of a PvP character because of the way he works, obviously, right, with the infect and you know, the basic stats for every human. But Aries is a PvE character, so you're not running her in PvP alongside Rudius, right? And then if we look at her skills, she doesn't have like crazy skills, like sever single target, sure, and then she has AoE, cancel stance, and buff removal, so it's nothing crazy. And then her ultimate is just flood, so she is pretty much a dead release. And it's crazy to me that we get a character like Aries when we last year we literally got, and this was exactly for the Goddess Liz situation as well, but we got Kizuna, and she's just such a better character than both of those two combined. She's just a better character in general, right? And so because of that, Aries is literally just there, and she has not provided anything for my account. Literally, I think the only time she had to use was during the Attack on Titan collab when you needed to bring Levi, and so you would bring Aries, Kizuna, and Levi, and you would have a full human red team, right? So there was that. That was like the only thing that I actually used Aries for that actually was like, you know, competitive, quote unquote. But yeah, that is my number 2 on the list. Now with the number 1 slot, guys, this has to go to Green Ludociel. Now, we're going to talk about the reasoning why I give number 1 of the worst character release of 2023 to Green Ludociel, and we're going to explain it, right? So the reason why I give it number 1 to Green Ludo, you guys might think like Green Ludo's okay, amazing, like he's probably better than like some of the characters on this list, right? And that's true, but it's for the fact that he needed to do something for Goddess team and didn't do it, right? The thing is with Ludo is that he had to replace Margaret Ludo on the team, right? So when we look at the Ludociels in the game, this Ludociel that released had to replace Blue Margaret Ludo on the Goddess team when she was already providing big basic stats for the team at the time, right? And then her Holy Relic would do damage reduction, right? For herself, obviously, right? And it was nothing too crazy. She also had a cleanse skill that was remove debuffs, increased damage dealt, and damage reduction, right? And then she also had a black effect ultimate. Very, very good tech. at the time when she released. Well, at the time when Mile came out, right? And then when we got the Ludo. But Ludo, the problem with him is that he released, and it was definitely a situation where Netmarble held back on him because they know how strong goddesses are. If we look at Ludo's passive, increases goddess allies attack related stats by 7% and increases the hero's damage dealt by 15 for each goddess ally on the battlefield, which really does suck. Why does Ludo only provide a 7% all stats buff or attack related buff when we have characters like, you know, Ragnarok Bond, right? If we go to like Ragnarok Bond, he gives 10% attack related stats, right? Like if we just look at it, increases all allies attack related stats by 10%, all allies, so no goddess allies, it can be anybody, right? And Bond's giving 10% attack related stats. Why run Ludo backline on a goddess team when you can run Ragnarok Bond? Already a stupid thing, right? So it's like, okay, I don't need to run that. It's like, you know, no reason to run Ludo there. But then another thing too is like, okay, Ludo also increases his damage dealt for himself when he's on the field. But am I running Ludo on the field over, you know, the blue Margaret Ludo? No, you're not. You're nuts, right? So there hasn't really gotten much usage out of Ludo, and I feel like the main reason for that is because of the way his passive is structured. He doesn't have a good passive that supports the goddesses enough, and because of that, it was a really big issue, right? And so another thing too is like, I know Netmarble has to balance Ludo around the fact that goddesses are already strong because Mael cannot be stat lord. So they're thinking like, okay, you know, 7% attack related stats is good because you can't remove that attack related stat increase, right? You can't lower that. So, you know, I understand that, but then again, 7% is nothing, man, when you have Ragnarok Bond that can give 10% and Miles still can keep that stats, right? So there is that. And then on the other skills here, he does have Pierce, and then he does have the Goddess Elizabeth shield, which is good. Goddess Elizabeth shield is good, and I think this card is okay. And then his ultimate just gives himself a shield. So Ludo wasn't really doing anything on his release, and which is the really sad part is because goddesses needed the help and he didn't provide the help. Pretty much that was the problem, right? He released, he didn't provide the help for the goddesses, and so it was just a dead release on his release, which is so sad. So that is my top 5 worst character releases of 2023, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Now I want you guys to comment down below your top 5 worst character releases from least worst to the worst, so from 5 to 1. Let me know your top 5 worst characters, and yeah, man, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. That's gonna be it, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next video, man. Peace out and have a good rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.